Along with the Illuminate razing Mars and landing directly on Super Earth, we saw a bunch of new changes and content added to the game with the Heart of Democracy update. Now, on top of the flesh mobs and stingrays, we've now got Leviathans and the takedown overship missions, which are awesome to see in Helldivers. And the player counts, by the way, show it. With PC player counts right now sitting at over 111,000 concurrent, and I grabbed this in-game picture last night showing over 213,000, with talk that at one point it was up as high as 235,000. Now, all that aside, there's also a second new mission type with this update that not everyone knows about, and some players are just outright avoiding it altogether. It is the most chaotic. It is the most intense mission we've seen yet in Helldivers. Think of it as Helldivers Horde mode, and that's what I'm going to take you through today, with as many tips and tricks as I can pack in, so the next time this mission pops up in the rotation, you'll not only be ready for it, you'll dominate it. If you find this video informative, please consider hitting subscribe and ring the notifications bell, and with that out of the way, let's dive on in. The next time you're getting ready to drop in for a campaign, you might see this Illuminate ship icon pop up in your rotation, with the name of this mission type being Repel Invasion Fleet. Overall, it's a 20-minute mission, and at first you might confuse it with the current 20-minute defense missions we have in the game right now, but this one's entirely different because during these invasion missions, you're essentially taking on wave after wave of Illuminate drop and spawn ships, all taking massive troop dumps all over the city like a bad trip to Taco Bell. Repel Invasion Fleet missions can start appearing on your galactic maps as low as level 4 difficulty, all the way up to Super Helldive at level 10, with the only change to the mechanics being how many total warp ships the Illuminate can deploy down to the planet, with the max I've seen on level 10s sitting at 50. The basics here are pretty straightforward. Destroy the warp ships and extract before the 20-minute timer runs out, but with the intensity of combat and chaos this mission is able to produce, basic is not the word I would call it.
Nope.
All right, let's get down to the brass tacks of this mission, starting off with the enemy types you'll be dealing with, and this is 90% of what produces the mass chaos during the fighting, because you've got all these ultra-aggressive voteless coming out of everywhere, along with flesh mobs, but where you really start to see the differences here in this new mission are how many overseers you're going to be dealing with. The shield melee units, along with the crescent variants with those halo cannons that lob in rounds, are slightly elevated in terms of spawn rates, but where you really start to see the increases are with the flying jetpack variants, because they are everywhere and in huge numbers. If you can't effectively deal with them and try to ignore them, they'll just continue to stalk you from above, chasing you to no end with those 3-round burst laser cannons that seem to be slightly more accurate than I remember. You'll also be dealing with a sprinkling of harvesters, although one nuisance missing from combat here are those pesky watchers. So yeah, no annoying arc lightning blast to slow you down and or kill you. Now, after all those ground units, we've also got 4 air units to watch out for. The fast-moving strafing Stingray jets do show up in this mode, but I haven't seen them spamming spawns, so they only show up a few appearances per round. You've also got Levs, aka Leviathans, which we'll talk about during the tactics section of this video. And finally, you've got 2 different Illuminate troop ships. Ones that will come down close to the surface and then beam down a garrison of troops, never landing. And then you've got the other ones. Those are the spawn ships, which are the ones that count towards our mission objective counters. And you can identify them with this ring or plate on their bellies, because it will constantly glow white as they slowly approach the planet's surface and attempt to land. Just so you know, in preparation for this video, I tested out all the support weapons so you don't have to. From commandos over to the autocannon rifle, using both ammo types by the way, laser and quasar cannons, the Emancipator mech, heavy machine guns, sentries, eats, I mean you name it, I tried it. Even shouting harsh language at them at one point, by the way, that does not work. And it really comes down to 3 methods that you can use, starting off with the Mayhem Mosh Pit method, or at least that's what I've named it. For this one, you're basically all going to be one-man Helldiver armies running around fending for yourselves while trying to destroy the spawners once they land. depending on how good you and your squad mates are, you can absolutely pull this method off, with your only real limitation being how many respawns you can maintain without running dry. Now, since you are going to be constantly hounded by everything on the planet's surface, I would highly recommend lightweight armor to stay as mobile as possible. I personally like Siege Ready for the reload speeds and extra ammo. I also pair this setup with the Eruptor with max handling ergonomics. By the way, link to my full breakdown video for how to customize the Eruptor can be found down in the video description and pinned comments. Or, hey, look at that. I'll even include a link to it in the top right-hand corner of the video just to make it that much easier for you. But yeah, the Eruptor erases Overseers. From there, the grenade pistol is a good secondary to swap to once you have downed the spawn ship shields and need to dump around through the door to destroy them. Or you can use the Eruptor to do the same, your call. Final touches to this loadout would be a supply pack and the Stalwart, once again to deal with voteless hordes if you get swarmed, and also to save a few Eruptor rounds while dropping shields. Gas or fire nades are excellent for crowd control in case you need to create a little distance while traversing the city. From here, you're basically running around from landing zone to landing zone, trying to skirt around the Illuminate forces when you can, because again, they are everywhere, eventually getting close enough to a spawn ship to drop its shields, lob a nade through the door, and then move on. Now, every time you destroy a spawn ship, another is going to come down to take its place until all the ship reinforcements are depleted. Or you and your squad take so many deaths, you just can't continue on, which, by the way, is very likely considering how much enemy fire will come raining down on you from every single angle. This method is risky, it's hectic, and by the way, I love it, but from our testing, it has so many variables that it creates a ton of risk, but it's absolutely epic to try, and it's built around letting the spawn ships land and then taking them on when they are releasing troops left, right, and center. From that mayhem mosh pit method, we then changed our squad tactics over and thought, hey, what could we do if we instead tried to kill the Illuminate before they ever stepped foot on the hallowed ground of Super Earth? And this meant a swap in thinking over to heavy support weapons. Now for this one, we paired into 2 squads of 2 with one player wearing the supply pack and the other using the spear. Now the issue with the Illuminate ships is that their shields and hull strengths are difficult to deal with. Most support weapons are capable of dropping the shields, but then rely on you repositioning and putting yourself into harm's way to get that perfect shot through the spawn ship's door, which, by the way, never seems to be directly pointing at you once they land. Go figure, right? I also experimented here with the Emancipator mech suit, and for the few minutes it has ammo and you're able to run up to the spawn ships, drop their shields, and land around through the door, it's effing glorious. But you will more often than not lose an arm to a harvester or some sort of wild Leviathan cannon shot. I mean, it has its use, just in a different capacity, and by the way, stay tuned, more on that in a moment. TLDR, the Spear 2-man method worked okay, with both players spamming out sentries in front of us to keep the Illuminate chaff at bay and also using the team reload mechanics. One player wields the spear while the other does the speed reloads. I mean, it works, but not as well as you'd like because the spawn ships take 3 shots to destroy, with 2 of those used to destroy its shields. That means 3 shots, 2 total reloads, you've got lock-on times thrown in there, and the spear will also sometimes try to lock onto something you don't want it to, not to mention all the buildings which can break line of sight. Overall, it's messy. It's a bit inefficient, and unless you get the map type where the entire center is completely open, which helps you with the spear targeting but puts you out of cover and in line of air attacks, yeah, it'll work, but it's definitely not the most efficient. That's 2 methods down, but now over to the final tactic, and this is the one that we really saw the most results with. This time, we broke the squad into 2 dedicated slayers, whose primary task is to destroy any Illuminate units outside of the flying pancakes, while the other 2 members were almost exclusively focused in on air defense. And this is the one I would highly, highly recommend you try out for yourselves. So first up are the Slayer loadouts, and this is going to be down to a little bit of personal taste, but you need to meet the Illuminate advance with plenty of bullets downrange. So for our team composition, that meant turrets like the Gatling and autocannon, along with plenty of ammo for both Slayers, so they were both using supply packs. The Stalwart is great for chaff clear, especially since you can reload it on the move, which is essential with all this incoming fire, while our other Slayer was using the HMG and Orbital Barrage for a bit of extra oomph and grunt. Speaking of which, This is where he also brought in the E-Man exosuit for when things got really effing hectic, and it does well enough versus spawn ships as well. Again, if you can land that killing blow through the door. For the air defense crew, you both want to use the recoilless rifle and supply pack, so that means both of you will call them down simultaneously, although only one of you will be firing the recoilless while the other performs the speed reloads. For extra support, sentries like the machine gun sentry are excellent to keep chaff at bay, especially since this particular sentry has such a low cooldown timer. We also tried out and brought in the shield gen relay, but we saw mixed results with it, with how well it stood up against the Illuminate weaponry. A few tips now for you, and the first would be for the air defense unit to hang back and, if possible, to back up against some form of cover to prevent from being surrounded. Standing out in the open is not ideal, especially with how many units will be shooting at you. From there, the Slayers will move forward just a little distance to create an iron halo around the air defense position, bolstered by all the sentries you've equipped. By the way, watch out for those things because they are just as capable of cutting you in half as enemy targets. From here, the player aiming and firing the recoilless will wear the resupply pack, while the speed reloader will wear the recoilless rocket pack, which, by the way, is no different than what we've done in the past, where when the reloader is out of rockets, the player holding the launcher will resupply them from their backpack, and then you just rinse and repeat this method. Since you're not tied to the strict lock-on mechanics like with the spear, here's where you can really thread the needle with some of those recoilless shots. Also, it becomes a dealer's choice player decision what ships to target first, because each dropship will require the same 3 recoilless rockets to kill them. Do you target the troop ships? Destroying them midair before they can beam their units down to the ground will definitely make your Slayers' jobs a little easier. Or do you strictly target the ships with the bright glowing discs, indicating that they are spawners attempting to land, knowing that these are the ones that count towards your objective kill counter? I mean, that's up to you. But again, each one of these things will take 3 rockets to completely destroy. Also, don't forget to call in a resupply anytime it is off cooldown. And if a Slayer happens to get killed, make sure to throw their call-in stratagem as close to their death location as possible so they can spawn in, pick up their gear, and once again, slaughter the squid. Now over to the air units, and this one is up to you. Now personally, if you can avoid spending time and resources downing the Leviathans, I would. Although for science, we tested out the recoilless on the joint between the head and the body segments with the recoilless, and it took 6 rockets to break the Lev in half. So it can be done with efficiency, but expect another unit to show up shortly, so I think it's just a waste of resources. The real issue here, I mean, we can call it more of a nuisance, are those stingrays, which can crisscross your positions, and sometimes the sound cues are overwhelmed by all the gunfire and you just don't hear them coming in, where they can absolutely melt you and your entire squad. Anything medium armor pen and higher is what you want to hit these things with, which could be a turret if their targeting behavior is working properly, or it could be the E-Man mech or HMG or a bunch of other support or primary weapons. As long as you can land a few rounds on it with something medium armor pen and higher, you're golden. The final tip I would give you here is that within these city biomes are plenty of smaller structures like small buildings and kiosks with walls and patios around them, and treat these as recoilless sniper nests. Getting on top of one of these areas will give you better sight lines because eventually you're going to need to reposition your air defense unit, as some spawn ships will make it through. Also, these walls and elevated positions can many times keep boltless or flesh mobs confused and at bay, while you and your reloader are doing the Lord's work in the name of managed democracy. Once you've fully depleted the spawner reinforcements, the Illuminate ships will stop entering orbit and attempting to land, but you may need to open your mini-map and find the units that have made it planetside to then destroy them and ultimately finish up the objective. From there, it becomes a race to make it to extraction so you can enjoy some refreshments and high fives back on your Super Destroyer. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the video comment section and I'll do my best to answer them as they come in. Hopefully you found this in-depth guide and breakdown informative, and armed with these tips, you'll be ready to lay the galactic beatdown on these missions the next time they appear in your rotation. Remember to hit subscribe and to ring that notifications bell to receive my future upload alerts. We now have channel memberships in place if you feel like taking your support a step further with tiers and perks for all levels. Also, a massive thanks goes out to all our current channel members. And until the next one, this is Lieutenant Buzz Lightyear, signing off.